big week 5 ranking video to wrap up the week of rankings. We have quarterback, tight end, and defense all here in one spot in one video. Smash like and subscribe when it helps us out as a small channel. Really appreciate it. We got a lot to talk about, man. Lamar Jackson. Listen, man, I had Josh Allen ranked ahead of him heading into week number 4. I was right. Turns out I was right. Keep this in mind, though. Lamar Jackson, hamstring injury, leaves at the start of the fourth quarter. Now, it's reported by the announcers that if the game was closer, he would have kept playing. Is this Anthony Richardson 2-1? Now, surprisingly enough, you might be thinking, oh, let's knock Lamar Jackson down the rankings. Tough matchup versus the Texans. Josh Allen gets a cakewalk versus the Patriots on Sunday Night Football. Oops, Lamar Jackson is QB1 for week 5. It's a stance. I get it. I know. We don't even know if this guy's going to play. Am I crazy? Keep this in mind. Josh Allen in 2024 versus the Patriots. Let's backtrack. Go check out Flock Fantasy for free. 11 points. Pretty bad. That's pretty bad. 1 passing touchdown. Not much on the ground either. 6 for 30. Yeah, he hasn't played great versus New England in 2024. Sat out one of the matchups now the year prior, 2023. 21 points, 24 points. Still not the elite ceiling. Now, Lamar Jackson, he has a much higher ceiling. You might say, oh, he's not going to be running this, but I agree. In the playoffs, recently in the playoffs, let's take a look. Texans versus Ravens. Playoffs 2024. Take a look at what happened in this game. Utter domination. If we take a look at the box score, Lamar Jackson. Oh, only 15 pass attempts, 2 touchdowns. Oh, Lamar Jackson on the ground, only 4 rushes, 90 yards and a touchdown. Now, this was a game of Derrick Henry, for sure, so I think Derrick Henry will probably be utilized here. But it's safe to say that I have Lamar Jackson with a higher ceiling right now than Josh Allen slightly, and really they're interchangeable. You only have one of them. You're starting either one, so they're running back. Jaden Daniels coming back from an injury, most likely playing the Chargers, right? So he's come back from injury. He's going to remain in this A- tier. And honestly, the gap between S tier and A-, we might have to put this back to A tier, because these S tier guys, they haven't been at the top of the top that we're used to seeing. Now, Jalen Hurts is a bit of a bum. Now, we are used to seeing the Jalen Hurts passing volume at such a low rate this year that we're not even surprised. We're not even surprised. 130 passing yards, you get bailed by 2 passing touchdowns, little shovel passes to Dallas Goedert. And on the ground, surprisingly, no rushing touchdown, but he had 62 rushing yards. Jalen Hurts remains an A-tier quarterback because the floor alone is enough to make you happy. Now, Pat Mahomes has his best game as a Kansas City Chief since 2023. Like 2024, I don't think he matched this either. 4 passing touchdowns, 27 fantasy points. Week 1, he matched the points alone just based on rushing upside. Now, he hasn't had the rushing volume the last 2 weeks, which is a bit of a concern. But with Xavier Worthy back, you have 3 track stars: Hollywood Brown, Tyquan Thornton, and you have Xavier Worthy. So with the track star team, I expect some deep balls, right? You have Jacksonville Jaguars, Monday Night Football. Tough matchup. They're going to have to throw. I still like Pat Mahomes up here in this A tier. It was a bit of a stance. Now, I feel like I'm not super excited starting any of these guys outside of the top 3. I'm a bit more excited about Mahomes than Jalen Hurts, to be honest, but I'm still keeping Hurts there for the floor. Baker Mayfield. If he's not throwing for 2+ passing touchdowns, you're disappointed. Now, he threw for 2 against a tough matchup against the Eagles, but we've kind of just seen him with a safe floor. First week of the year, 3 passing touchdowns. That was the highest you'll see him at 23 points. This is in a 4-point format, of course. If you're in a 6-point league, I do like it. They're 2.5-point dogs on the road against Seattle. Tough place to play. Probably down Mike Evans. I expect Godwin to bounce back right here. I like Baker as is. Now, Bo Nix and Justin Fields, I've yet to see either of these guys play on Monday Night Football, so I'm not going to touch their ranking just yet. Caleb Williams remains a top fantasy football must-start quarterback moving forward. We did have his worst week of the year. In terms of rushing, he did nothing. Only 13 yards rushing, his worst of the year. He actually didn't do great against Dallas either in terms of rushing upside. We haven't really seen him rush effectively since week 1. But 37 pass attempts, 212 yards, only 1 pass touchdown. Only 1 touchdown is the reason he had his worst game of the year. Takes on the nobody. Bye week for Caleb Williams, irrelevant in the rankings. So with 4 teams on bye, that means we're going to have to bump up some of these players. Kyler Murray might be one of them, but he salvages his day because of Marvin Harrison and kind of garbage time. They claw their way back in the 4th corner. Kyler Murray, just look at this. It's just not exciting. Like, you drafted Kyler Murray probably in the 6th round, and Baker Mayfield is outperforming him slightly. And Kyler Murray, I think Kyler Murray's rest of season upside is definitely there. If he can, I don't know, like, can he get more involved on the ground in the red zone? We haven't had a single rushing touchdown, but the rushing volume provides that safe floor. Only 1 or 2 passing touchdowns a game. I think Kyler Murray is still there in this realm of quarterbacks down here now, where, to be honest, like, I think Caleb Williams, I think that there might just be nobody in C tier. I'm going to put Justin Fields here in C tier because I feel like his rushing upside alone might be a bit better than Kyler. He's probably using it more. We'll see on Monday Night Football. I'm going to have to change this up a little bit. Drake May takes on the Patriots. Drake May is not necessarily somebody you bench, even though it's a tough matchup. They're going to be playing from behind. I expect him to potentially get more mobile than he was in week 4 with only, 11 rushing yards. Now, in week 4, 200 pass yards on only 17 pass attempts. I think he's going to have more pass attempts on Sunday Night Football. I think he's going to have more rush attempts on Sunday Night Football. Matchup alone, I think I'm putting Drake May up here over Kyler Murray, and Caleb Williams is on bye. So Drake May is a big-time riser. Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions. He gives you 2 passing touchdowns to Amon-Ra. I think it's a pretty safe floor. People said we were too harsh on Justin Herbert. We obviously weren't. Bad matchup versus the Giants. Now they come back against the Commanders. I think Herbert is still somebody you stream a quarterback. Now, one person's missing. And the person missing, C tier. Indiana Jones is the top C tier quarterback ahead of Fields. Call me crazy. I expect Indiana Jones to bounce back here in week number 5. So Indiana Jones should be up there. Dak Prescott looked good, man. So did Jordan Love. I like having them ranked where they are. Now, without CeeDee Lamb, like, do you expect overtime again? I think you do. I think you have Dak over Goff, to be completely honest. Now, in terms of the matchups, right? Who has the best matchup in week number 5? The Dallas Cowboys take on the Jets. I'd say it's a pretty good matchup. So I like Dak where he is. In terms of the Green Bay Packers, they're on bye week. So you can't even trust Jordan Love until he gets a very good schedule. Bengals, Cardinals, Steelers, Panthers. So Love, his time is coming. So I like these rankings as is. In terms of E tier, we're not really going to be changing anything down here. If you have to start any of these guys, I would probably go Purdy, then T-Law. I think Darnold has some touchdowns ahead of him. I think JSN is going to have a bounce back game coming up here in London. So I expect Sam Darnold to potentially be a good quarterback option for the week. And then I feel like the only big riser is Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart's rushing upside alone is going to put me up here. Still in E tier. Let's not overreact. Malik Neighbors is gone. His number 1 receiver is Wan'Dale Robinson. So that's going to be the quarterback rankings for the week. Carson Wentz, honestly, not really relevant enough for me to even put a face here. Indiana Jones should be on this list. But Carson Wentz, I'd put down here at the top of F tier. I'd honestly start Wentz over Geno. I think Wentz is probably going to average 2 passing touchdowns a game when he is playing. There it is. Let's head to tight ends. Looking at the tight end rankings for week number 5. Ooh, was I a genius? I had Jake Ferguson as the number 1 tight end heading into week 4. What did Jake Ferguson do? Did he reward us in an overtime game versus the Packers? Yes, he did. Brings in the touchdown. All 7 of 7 targets. And I honestly think he's going to have more targets with CeeDee Lamb's absence moving forward. So versus the Jets, surprisingly enough, I have Jake Ferguson ahead of Bowers, ahead of McBride. Call me a man. I like Ferguson where he is. Now, Brock Bowers might have to start falling in these rankings. He fell from number 1 to Jake Ferguson. The floor is 9 points, it looks like. The floor is 6 targets. But I'd like to see a bit of a ceiling. Can we get a 12-target game for this guy, please, versus Indiana Jones? This is his last chance to hold on to this 2 spot. Because, honestly, Trey McBride, you might say, oh, Trey McBride's coming for a spot. He is. McBride is playing better. In terms of week 5 versus the Titans, I'd rather have McBride. So, Bowers, you're done, buddy. Tyler Warren, I think, has leapfrogged potentially both of them. Scores a rushing touchdown in week 4. 18 points with the rushing touchdown. 70 receiving yards seems to be what he's averaging 3 out of the 4 weeks we've seen him play. Takes on a good matchup with the Raiders. You have Warren versus Bowers. One of these guys is going to pop off. I trust Bowers' floor a bit more, so we're going to keep S tier the way it is. Sam Laporta. It's not good. Sam Laporta, it's not good. Juwan Johnson, I mean, who deserves to be in A tier? Is there another name that deserves to be there in A tier outside of the top 4 guys? I really don't think so. Like, Tucker Kraft looks all right, good floor, but really he's not having the target volume. And that's a trend that dates back to last year. Kraft is insanely effective. He's very good, but he doesn't get enough targets to really give you, enough consistency. Is George Kittle coming back sometime soon? Maybe, but maybe not, right? Really, the best names are all interchangeable in this tier. Who would I rather have? Would I rather have Juwan Johnson starting or Tucker Kraft? I think I'd rather start Tucker Kraft because I think Kraft is more likely to get 8 points than Juwan Johnson. But I think Juwan Johnson might actually provide a higher ceiling. So this is really a true toss-up. Now, Sam Laporta is the true wild card because this guy is talented, but in terms of the targets, 4 targets per game over the last 3 weeks, he has to get bumped down these rankings. We're going to leave A tier blank. We can do that, and we reserve the right to do that. Pitts is a big-time riser. Travis Kelce, I told you folks to hold on. Better days were ahead. Looking at Travis Kelce, 9.8 points. It's kind of his floor. I think Kyle Pitts might actually have a higher ceiling now than Travis Kelce. And keep in mind, Darnell Mooney was banged up. He might miss time. You have Xavier Worthy back, and you have Rashee Rice coming back in 2 weeks. So I'm actually trusting Kyle Pitts over Travis Kelce moving forward. Now, Kraft versus Pitts is a very, very tough decision. If Darnell Mooney's out, I'm honestly going Kyle Pitts. Now, keep in mind the Falcons are on a bye week. The Packers are on a bye week. And so are the Steelers and Bears. But the Steelers tight ends, we don't really care. The Bears tight ends, we don't really care. So really, Juwan Johnson's tight end 5 for the week. Kelce, tight end 6. Laporta, tight end 7. Hockenson, definitely a disappointing game. You expected more volume from Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz likes to target his tight ends. He didn't target Hockenson until the end of the game. He salvaged his day. So Hockenson, you're probably still starting him because of the bye weeks we have for Pitts and Kraft. Zach Ertz and Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry, I'm actually going to throw up here ahead of Sam Laporta. Hunter Henry could have had more touchdowns. A lot of his receptions in week 4, 2 of them, I believe, were stopped at the goal line. So while he only had 2 targets, or maybe I'm hallucinating, he had 2 receptions. He only had 1 touchdown for 30 yards. I think I'm thinking of Jonathan Taylor. I don't know what I'm thinking of here. But his target volume was down in a big way, salvaged by a touchdown. With that said, the Patriots, the same reason I talked about Drake May having a good game, they're playing the Bills. And I think that Hunter Henry is going to be a beneficiary of the target volume from Drake May. Hunter Henry should be started in your lineups. And honestly, I'd rather have him than Kelce. A bit surprising, maybe a bit riskier, but the ceiling seems a bit higher. Kelce takes on the Jaguars. Now, Zach Ertz, Jaden Daniels should be back. I think Ertz deserves to be where he is. We can't have David Njoku here without Harold Fenton Jr. Harold Fenton Jr. should be ahead of David Njoku if you're planning on starting somebody. Isaiah Likely did absolutely nothing in his return from injury. In fact, you might not even know that he did return from injury. Zeros all across. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he was healthy scratch. I don't even know. Isaiah Likely should be rostered, but not in your starting lineup. Dalton Kincaid is a name you're never going to know when Kincaid is going to get any opportunities. Kincaid is also going to be somebody in the C tier. Goddard, I would try selling him high if you could. You're not going to be able to trust the target volume for Philly. You're not going to be able to project that out. So I would have Goddard, then Fannin, then Kincaid. And honestly, Njoku and Kincaid is kind of a toss-up for me. But that's how I would have C tier shake up. Now, D tier, I think Strange is better than Likely for this week. I think he's a bit more streamable. I guess Okonkwo is all right. I guess Ingram's all right. We'll see what Ingram does on Monday Night Football. I haven't seen that just yet. Mark Andrews, it seems like maybe he's a bit more relevant, but with no Lamar, I mean, you're not going to be able to trust that. The big name I want to mention to you guys, if you're looking for a tight end to stream in week number 5, it's going to be Oronde Gadsden. Now, I know it's a disappointing week. No Will Dissly in week 4, and he disappointed. But Oronde Gadsden is actually a guy where, in terms of the rest of the season outlook, I think he can be a big-time riser. You know, week 3, first game in the league. 7 targets, 5 catches. One of the drops was a touchdown. So he could have had a breakout game. Week 4 was disappointing. Keep an eye on this guy for the up-and-coming future. I think Gadsden should be rostered as a tight end streamable option. There is the rankings for week 5. Let's head to defense most importantly. Taking a look at the defenses for week 5, we start out with the Arizona Cardinals potentially taking an S tier spot, taking on the Tennessee Titans, who Cam Ward themselves has called the Titans ASS. So it's not looking good. The Detroit Lions also have a good matchup versus Cincinnati Bengals. We'll know more after Monday Night Football, but I think the Lions should be up there in this conversation of S tier teams for the week. The Ravens take on the Texans. The Texans had 6 points going into the 4th quarter against the Titans, who are self-proclaimed trash, and the Texans defense plays dirty. They are a good defense to be starting this week. The Eagles, touchdown machine. It's a bad matchup versus the Broncos, but I think the Eagles are also an S tier matchup. Now, to be completely frank, I'm saying S tier. Like, I'm honestly not as appetized as usual. There's not as many, oh, this is going to be a complete bloodbath type sensation going through my body. Like, the Cardinals versus Titans is probably the highest chance of that we have for the week. But I think I'm going to leave all of these teams in A tier. Vikings and Browns. The Vikings are a team that scores a lot of points this year, and they're taking on Joe Flacco, who was 16 of 40 with two interceptions, no touchdowns. I think the Vikings are going to be in a good spot right here in London. They already played on the road. They're still there. The Vikings look like a good defense to play. I honestly put them above the Philadelphia Eagles as well. The Giants take on the New Orleans Saints. This game is in New Orleans. And to be honest, either one of these teams could be a solid defense. We're going to put the Saints here in B tier. The Saints would not be startable if Malik Nabers was there. But without Malik Nabers, the Giants offense takes a massive blow. The Indianapolis Colts take on the Las Vegas Raiders. And Geno Smith just had 16 completions, 100 passing yards. So that was a bad game for Geno. The Dolphins take on the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers just got destroyed by New England. We're going to put the Dolphins here in potentially startable category, but never trust the Dolphins. Now, the Bills' defense has been terrible. They've been decimated, kind of like the Ravens. They take on the Patriots on Sunday Night Football. I think I'd rather have the Bills' defense than any of these three below it, but can you trust them is a whole different story. The Rams versus 49ers. This just smells like, 4 points, 5 points, so it's probably a trap. I'm not starting the 49ers. Heck no, the Rams' offense is too good. But potentially the Rams can contain San Francisco. Seems like they're always banged up. So honestly, not that bad of an idea. Carson Wentz, he was seeing ghosts from the Steelers defense when they were blitzing. The Steelers were averaging 30 points coming up per game. They got so much pressure on Wentz that he was seeing ghosts. What do you think the Cleveland Browns defense is going to do? I think I'd rather start Cleveland because Wentz is going to risk a lot of turnovers. So I think that makes the Cleveland Browns a startable defense. That's 3-6. That is 12 potential defenses for you to start this week. That should be enough, man. That should be enough defenses to get you through the week. Is there any other matchups I want to mention? I think that's it. You could say, I want to come in here and start the Ravens versus the Texans. Oh, it's a trap. It is a trap. The Ravens defense has looked so bad. And if Lamar Jackson's not there, then Cooper Rush is going to be turning it over at such a high rate that it is a trap. These are the 12 defenses I would go with. Smash Time Trout Button. Thanks for watching the weekly rankings.